Look, I'll be honest here. I really did not expect to like F.E.A.R. On paper, it is a first-person co-op shooter with cover-based shooting. It's a game that I should have hated. I have in the past on this channel ranted about cover-based elements in games, about shitty sequels, guns don't feel good. Yet somehow I like F.E.A.R. And F.E.A.R. suffers more of that. This game is not a masterpiece, but it's actually like honestly pretty good. And as a sequel to F.E.A.R. 2 and as a conclusion to the series that F.E.A.R. 1 started, it's actually a damn good one. So in F.E.A.R. 1, you play as the Point Man, and the antagonist is kind of Paxton Fettel, and Paxton Fettel's kind of the antagonist in F.E.A.R. 2's DLC. But in F.E.A.R. 3, you play as Paxton Fettel or the Point Man. You both kind of work together to fight your way to Alma, who's about to give birth to her son, who on paper will have enough psychic power to completely destroy the world or something. It's not very well explained, but regardless, the kid's a problem and you have to fix it. Fettel and Point Man basically are in this uneasy alliance as they both work together to stop Alma before she can carry the child to term. And that's the premise for the 3 to 4 hour long game. It's basic, but it's kind of personal to both the player and the characters as it does carry on from F.E.A.R. 2. So that's good. And as is expected in my reviews by now, we'll talk about graphics before we touch on gameplay. And, well, graphically, F.E.A.R. 3 is kind of interesting to me. I can't decide if F.E.A.R. 2 or F.E.A.R. 3 looks better. F.E.A.R. 3 has more detailed textures and the lighting seems to be utilised better, but F.E.A.R. 2 just looks good. Like, sure. I think a lot of it comes down to the visual styling of F.E.A.R. 2 versus F.E.A.R. 3. F.E.A.R. 3 is really, really flat. Like, it's just grey. And in hindsight, this might as well just be like a repeating visual motif for the series. It's just always been grey. F.E.A.R. 2 I felt had the most colour, it felt more stylised. F.E.A.R. 3 is just lots of browns, greys and red, so that's cool. But again, I'll be honest here. I don't think this game has a lot of things to be discussed or even really praised or disliked at all when discussing graphics. It's very visually boring. I mean, I think the particle effects are pretty cool, in particular the blood mist and the spray that happens when you shoot someone, but it feels flat in comparison to F.E.A.R. 1, but it felt better than F.E.A.R. 2. It's good, but it's not as impactful as F.E.A.R. 1. I like how the blood kind of hangs in the air or paints the walls, but it feels too subtle at times. And I think that subtle kind of just explains the visual style of F.E.A.R. 3. Nothing is highlighted in any way. And this all comes back to the game's lighting. It's just not as dramatic or as contrasted as either of the previous installments, which sucks. This game visually has a lot of potential. It could have easily been the best looking F.E.A.R. game if they just focused their efforts more on atmosphere and just, well, feeling. Which I'll come back to later, but for now, let's talk more about the game's style and look, which is a very important part of this game's marketing, because see, this game has a very, 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 very big cinematic legend behind it. John Carpenter, the director behind so many critically acclaimed films like The Thing, Christine, and the original Halloween film. This guy has some talent. He's incredibly good at creating visual tension. And it's really weird for him to direct cinematics for a video game. And, well, because I'm going to go all film student on this, because, surprise, surprise, that's what my major is at uni. And, well, this game has some actually strangely good cinematics. Like, they are actually, honestly, pretty good. They set the tone brilliantly. They look great from the animation to the lighting to the composition. They're just great. They even have that highlighty look, which really gives them this dreamlike quality. Which, again, pretty neat. The bloody tendrils coming from Fettel are easily one of the most visually interesting things about this game. They make him seem more ethereal and evil, which I guess he is. I can't really fault these cinematics. I can fault the voice acting, how Fettel's VA, who is the same as F.E.A.R. 1 and F.E.A.R. 2, is kind of just not following the tone of the game. But that's not the cinematics' fault. And regardless, that VA is doing a great job. The lines are delivered well, it just doesn't seem to match the tone of the game is all. But maybe that's part of the whole campy thing that's going on. This game is not serious in the slightest. They try to be, but they're not. The game knows that Fettel is an evil bastard, and they don't hide it. They also portray Point Man as like an anti-hero, which I guess he kind of is. He's not exactly remorseful. They even did the whole speechless protagonist thing for Point Man, which is kind of annoying because it doesn't make a lot of sense. He should just be speaking. It should add something to the game, to the tone, narrative, and the general feel, and maybe even help alleviate the weird tone shifts from Fettel. But alas, we all know the most important thing about a game is the actual gameplay. And surprise, surprise, that is the biggest change from F.E.A.R 2 to F.E.A.R 3. The game pretty much changed genre. F.E.A.R 2 could be seen as a shooter with fairly strong horror elements, whereas F.E.A.R 3 is a first-person shooter with cover-based mechanics that occasionally decides to throw in a horror element. And yeah, I said first-person shooter with cover-based mechanics. There hasn't really historically been many of those around. One of the Medal of Honors, I think, had it, maybe some smaller indie shooters. I haven't seen it in a AAA before. I guess Killzone 2 had it, so yeah, it has happened before, but not all that often is what I'm trying to say. Which, I think explains why it hasn't happened. It's fucking awful, it's clunky as fuck, it limits movement, it's all sorts of bad. But yet, I did find myself using it, and in fact, kinda liking it. I don't really know why. It did help sometimes. It's a good way to get your health back up, because yes, regenerating health, there's no medkits this time around. But I largely didn't depend on it. It was more convenient to hide behind objects with the game's crouch rather than using the cover system, which is how it normally goes for first-person cover shooters. And I did allude to it in the intro, but this game is a co-op shooter. You play as Point Man or Paxton Fettel, and they play very differently. Point Man is a standard FPS shooter game, while Fettel has magic. Magic which lets him possess people, which then makes Fettel play like a normal FPS shooter character. So yeah. Let's talk about the standard shooter stuff, and then talk about the stuff that is unique to Fettel. Because there's not much, I'll be honest with you, there's a little bit that's unique to him. But regardless, the most important change for me anyway in regards to the standard shooting parts is the decreased weapon carrying capacity. It's 2 instead of 4 this time, which makes sense as the industry was moving towards realism, so fair enough. But this also makes sense when you realise how many weapons are present in F.E.A.R 3. For reference, F.E.A.R 1 and 2 have 10 and 12 respectively, and F.E.A.R 3 has 9, and most of them are useless, for 2 reasons. Reason 1, they simply do way too little damage to be useful, and reason 2, the game doesn't give you enough ammo for them to be useful long term. And yeah, this extends to the shotgun. They fucked up a shotgun. Yeah, it just kind of feels like it does no damage. It's a 2-hit kill on enemies at point blank range. It's just not good. The assault rifle and SMG combo is the way to go for this game, frankly. It just works all the time and the ammo is everywhere. Another serious staple is still included, of course, melee attacks, which don't instantly kill people and generally aren't worth your time, unless they're already damaged or you run out of ammo. So yeah. There's also a backstab, which does instantly kill, but it's so weird that it happens sometimes, but not others. So yeah. Grenades are back, and they're the same as F.E.A.R 2. Electric grenades for mechs, regular grenades for other enemies. It's all standard here. But what isn't standard is Fettel. He's kind of interesting to play. And I will say this, I didn't play Fettel. My sister did during that co-op session. I played Point Man, so I have no idea what he feels like to play. I just have the footage. And I can tell you just from the footage that Fettel plays differently. He can fire like these little bolts of energy that stun enemies. He can pick them up so that whoever's playing Point Man can kill them. He can pick up barrels and throw them as like bombs. He can possess enemies, which again just makes him the same as Point Man. Although he can only do it for like a little bit before he pops into a red mist and kills the person he's possessing. And that's honestly kind of it. There's not much to him, but it is different enough to change how you play the game. And depending on who you are, it might be worth a second playthrough because of that. This game is really fun to play in co-op for this reason. So I do recommend just playing it with a friend or whatever. I had heaps of fun with my sister. And just lastly, before we touch on the horror and story of this game has a weird little leveling system where you get a score at the end of a mission that unlocks things. There's no way to see what you're going to unlock, like, at all. You just kind of unlock it and you just discover it in the next level that you have it. Like, I unlocked new kicks, while my sister unlocked more time to possess people. You also get these different measurements for your style, which come into play when I talk about the ending, as these affect the ending you get. So what about the horror elements? Is this game actually scary like F.E.A.R 1 or even F.E.A.R 2? And no, it's not. The game does try to be, but it's that action kind of horror where it's a loud noise and then an enemy appears. It's not creepy, it's not spooky, it's just simply there to keep the tension up and to keep you engaged in the downtime between combat sequences, which, to be fair, it does well enough. there is some good stuff in F.E.A.R. like pertaining to horror, but it's kind of just not a focus for the game, sadly. The Alma sequences are pretty much non-existent. We see it sometimes, but it's really just to set up the new villain, the Creep, who is trying to kill us and Alma. And because I can't really talk about the Creep without giving spoilers, let's just talk about the narrative now, get it out of the way. So yeah, spoilers. Play the game and come back, or just keep watching, whatever you want. But yeah, the Creep is Harlan Wade's ghost. He's this fucked up little creature who's trying to stop Alma, which is totally against his F.E.A.R. 1 motives, but really, at this point, I don't really care. That was 2 games ago, so it's fine. He's the antagonist, not Alma, who basically does nothing but give birth at the end of the game, and depending on the ending you get, has a different outcome. But yeah, as is custom in my videos, let's do a blow-by-blow of F.E.A.R. then talk about the problems. The game opens with Point Man in a prison, roughly 9 months after the end of both F.E.A.R. 1 and F.E.A.R. 2. Point Man is being questioned by Armor Champ soldiers until Paxton Fettel appears and interrupts the interrogation, freeing the Point Man. The two enter this uneasy partnership after learning that they're both being hunted by the supernatural entity nicknamed the Creep, who appears to be hunting their mother as well. The duo escape the Brazilian prison they're being held in and steal a helicopter to go back to Fairport, the stadium of both F.E.A.R. 1 and F.E.A.R. 2, to regroup with the surviving F.E.A.R. operative, Jin. Upon arriving, it becomes clear that Alma's presence in the city has driven most of the population insane, with many being executed by Armor Chan soldiers in an attempted cover-up. Upon finding Jin informs the duo that Michael Beckett, the F.E.A.R. 2 protagonist, is slated for transport by Armor Chan to some faraway place. They then learn that Beckett was raped by Alma and that Alma is now pregnant. The two move to intercept him before he's taken away to confirm that this is the case, effectively. They eventually fight their way to the airport and intercept Beckett. Fettel possesses him to learn if Alma is indeed pregnant, which she is. Fettel, upon leaving his body, explodes into 1,000 pieces, killing him. The duo then realize they can't get close to Alma without first eliminating the Creep. They head to the old Armor Chan facility where they were both raised as children. The idea being that in order to weaken the Creep, they have to destroy objects that hold emotional weight to both them and to Wade. This will cause the Creep to weaken, allowing them to kill it. You destroy some items and you get some cool cutscenes of the past, showing the difference between the Point Man and Fettel's childhood. And as you can probably imagine, Fettel had it way tougher than the Point Man. Like, way tougher. After destroying some objects, you finally take down the Creep in this massive over-the-top boss fight. It's actually kind of difficult, because it's really hard to predict what he's going to do, and all of his attacks do massive amounts of damage. After the boss fight, the duo are reunited with Alma, whose form has been altered, turning into like this cocooned egg thing. The Point Man is prepared to kill Alma and the child, but Fettel asks him if he is willing to throw away his own blood for orders. They begin to fight, and this is where the game's 2 endings differ greatly. And as it turns out, the endings are based off of who got more points, which are derived from various gameplay stats like enemies killed, damage dealt, and I guess style points as well. Regardless, Point Man's ending results in Fettel being headshotted to death. But as Point Man prepares to shoot Alma, he lowers his gun, helping her have the baby before Alma peacefully fades away. Point Man then hears from Jin that the supernatural shit has stopped. He then leaves with the baby, we cut to black. And then you have Fettel's ending, which is far less peaceful. So he possesses Point Man, extracts the baby, promising to raise it in his own image, then turns around and cannibalizes Alma. So, you know, if there's any doubt that Fettel is a bad guy, it's gone now, isn't it? But regardless of your ending, there is a post-credits sequence where we get to see Fettel as a child absolutely destroying some armed guards. It's a cool scene. And, well, that's fear-free. It's a good conclusion. I think it's good to see they didn't make Alma into a villain. Well, not, you know, a solely evil one, just another victim. It's a good way to end Alma, especially if you get the Point Man ending. And the real question and the real goal of any review is to quantify if a game is good. Is it fun? Is it worth your time? And I don't. It's weird because for me, I liked F.E.A.R. 3. It's kind of like F.E.A.R. 2. It's not a great game, but it doesn't necessarily need to be. It's perfectly fine. I enjoyed it. The shooting feels, good. Enemies are fun. And because the game is co-op, it automatically is far more enjoyable because you aren't alone. So I don't necessarily want to say, no, don't play this, but I will say that it's not worth playing it for on single player. Unless you're playing through all the F.E.A.R games, much like I did for this series of reviews. And yeah, this is the last F.E.A.R game. I'm kind of surprised that it was the last one. I'm surprised we haven't seen a remake or a reboot or even just a cancelled sequel. It's just the end of a series. The series, in my mind, still has potential for more installments, but I feel like they need to go back to what F.E.A.R 1 did. I don't think the world needs another average game. It needs more games that are worth your time, these master-crafted experiences, and maybe that's what, the eventual F.E.A.R remake will be. I hope so. The series has some really great stuff in it. I thoroughly enjoyed my time playing through the series. I doubt I'll be forgetting it anytime soon. And on that note, what did F.E.A.R leave behind? Where did the devs go? Where did the ideas go? Well, there was a free-to-play online shooter called F.E.A.R Online. It was short-lived, running for just shy of 12 months, but after that there was nothing. The Xbox port of F.E.A.R 1 and 2 is now backwards compatible, so you can play them on modern consoles, which is great, but there is no new games. The developers of F.E.A.R 1 and F.E.A.R 2, Monolith Studios, have since gone on to make the two most recent Middle-earth games, Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War. F.E.A.R 3's developers, Day One Studios, have been acquired by Wargaming and renamed into Wargaming West, who then have ever-popular World of Tanks. But that's it. That's the legacy of F.E.A.R. Lord of the Ring games and World of Tanks. And with that, I think I'm done here. Thanks for watching. I'll be back with a review of something. I haven't really decided yet, so if you have any ideas, please leave them below and I'll give them a go. Thanks for watching.